They say the body wears down with time, but have you ever noticed how some people seem to age faster than others? Two men, both born in the same year, walk very different paths. One remains sharp, full of energy, moving through life as if he's got decades left. The other, at the same age, struggles to get out of bed, weighed down by fatigue, regret, and a lifetime of choices. It's not just the passing years that determine how long we live. It's what we do in those years that carves our fate. People like to believe that age is just a number, but it's not. It's an accumulation, a sum of actions, habits, and mindsets. The truth is, many don't make it past 75 not because life simply ran its course, but because they unknowingly paved a road that led them there, faster than it had to. The body doesn't betray us, we betray the body. The mind doesn't weaken on its own, we let it rust. Destiny doesn't take us before our time, we hand it the keys. Before we go further, let me ask you, where are you joining us from today? And if you find any value in these conversations, a simple like and subscribe would mean a lot. This isn't just a video, it's a space where we reflect, learn, and walk the road of wisdom together. There's something we rarely talk about, how the smallest actions in our youth become the loudest echoes in our old age. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the way we treat our bodies when we think we're invincible, the way we let stress live rent-free in our minds, the way we sacrifice sleep, movement, and moments of peace, thinking we can always get them back later. But later is a dangerous illusion. When you see an elderly man barely able to stand upright, struggling to remember simple things, do you think it happened overnight? It was decades in the making. Every cigarette, every meal filled with nothing but convenience and regret. Every moment of exercise that was postponed until tomorrow. Every time he let anger eat away at his soul instead of letting go. Life doesn't punish us. It simply reveals the bill for the choices we've made. And yet there are those who age like trees, rooted, unshaken, steady in both body and mind. The ones who, even in their 80s, walk without a cane, laugh without struggle, remember without hesitation. What did they do differently? It's not luck. It's not some secret formula. It's simple. They made choices that respected time instead of defied it. They understood that youth isn't something you keep by force. It's something you preserve through wisdom. People love to argue about genetics, saying, "Oh, my father died early, so I will too." But genetics only write the blueprint. They don't build the house. You do. Your actions decide whether you reinforce that structure or let it crumble. Some people carry generations of disease in their bloodline, but outlive every prediction because they took responsibility for the one thing they could control, their choices. What you eat today builds the body you'll live in tomorrow. The way you move today determines whether your legs will hold you at 80. The way you handle stress today dictates whether your heart will keep beating when you need it most. The problem is, we ignore these truths until the warnings start knocking. A doctor's concern, a friend who didn't make it, a morning where the body doesn't respond the way it used to. But by then, most people realize they've spent decades negotiating with time instead of cooperating with it. Now, let's talk about the silent killer, neglect. Not just of the body, but of the mind and spirit. How many people stop learning once they leave school? How many stop growing once they hit a certain age, believing they've already figured it all out? The moment you stop feeding your mind, it starts to wither. The elderly who stay sharp, who remember faces and stories, who don't fall into the void of confusion, are the ones who never stopped feeding their curiosity. They read, they think, they question. The brain, like the muscles, atrophies without use. And then there's purpose. If you think retirement means shutting down, you're already digging an early grave. The ones who live long and well never retire from life. They keep moving, keep contributing, keep waking up with something to do. Purpose is the glue that holds a person together. It's why you'll see an 85-year-old gardener still tending to his plants, while a 65-year-old businessman, stripped of his job title, falls apart. The heart needs something to beat for. Without it, it slows down, and so does everything else. We live in a world where convenience has replaced discipline, where shortcuts have become the standard, and where people think they can cheat the consequences of their actions. But the body, the mind, and the soul, they remember. They collect every choice you make, stacking them like bricks, until one day, you're either living in a fortress or buried under rubble. Think about the elderly people you admire, the ones who still smile, still move, still inspire. They didn't just get lucky. They made investments long before the rest of the world even realized those investments mattered. They ate with care, moved with intention, rested with respect, learned with hunger, and lived with a purpose bigger than themselves. They didn't wait for life to dictate their destiny. They took the wheel and drove. So the real question isn't, why don't most people live past 75? The real question is, what are you doing right now that's either extending or shortening the time you have? If you've ever watched a candle burn down to the last flicker, you'll notice something. The flame doesn't go out suddenly. It shrinks, it struggles, and then, after using up everything it had, it fades into nothing. That's how most people live. Not in some dramatic, sudden ending, but in a slow, gradual depletion of energy, health, and purpose. The problem? They never realize they're running low until the wick is nearly gone. The real danger isn't in the big, obvious mistakes. It's in the small, everyday choices that seem harmless but stack up over time. The moments you dismiss as just one more, the habits you think you can afford to ignore, the warnings you wave off because it's nothing serious. But everything is serious when it's repeated enough. Take food, for example. Nobody drops dead from eating one unhealthy meal. But what about 10? 100? A lifetime of fueling the body with nothing but processed junk, excess sugar, and fried convenience? It's not the one meal that kills you. It's the pattern. The arteries don't clog overnight. The metabolism doesn't crash in a day. The extra weight on the joints, the inflammation in the brain, the exhaustion that lingers a little longer each morning, it all starts slow. Then one day, you're told you have diabetes, heart disease, or worse. And the first thing people say, I don't know how this happened. But deep down, they do. It happened in every moment. They dismissed the importance of what they put in their body. Every time they traded nutrition for comfort, pleasure, or habit. The people who live long, truly long, are not just lucky. They eat to nourish, not just to satisfy. They see food as fuel, not as entertainment. They respect what goes into their body because they know their body will return the favor or the punishment. Then there's movement. Nothing destroys the body faster than stillness. The muscles you don't use begin to weaken. The bones you don't challenge become fragile. The heart you don't exercise loses its endurance. And yet, most people treat movement as optional, something they'll get around to when they have time. The problem is, time doesn't wait. The body, neglected for years, can't suddenly spring back to life because you decide you want to use it again. The elderly who move with ease, who don't struggle upstairs, who don't need help standing from a chair, those are the people who never stop treating movement as a necessity. Somewhere along the way, people bought into the lie that aging means slowing down, that you're supposed to take it easy. But taking it easy is exactly what kills you. The moment you stop challenging your body, it starts to shut down. The moment you stop demanding strength, it stops giving it to you. The moment you decide you're too old to exercise, you've handed over the keys to your independence. And once you lose that, it's hard to get it back. Then there's the mind. A sharper killer than any disease is stagnation. The body can only go where the mind allows it, And yet so many people stop feeding their brains the moment they leave school. They stop learning, stop thinking, stop engaging with new ideas, and they wonder why their memory fades, why their focus weakens, why their thoughts become slower. The people who stay mentally sharp in old age are the ones who never stop challenging their minds. They read, they write, they have conversations that push them to think deeper. They don't waste their time absorbing nonsense or numbing their brains with meaningless distractions. They see their mind as a garden. What they plant grows. What they neglect withers. And what about stress? You might not see it, but stress is as corrosive as rust on metal. It eats away at you slowly, weakening your immune system, damaging your heart, altering your brain chemistry. People think stress is just part of life, something you carry until it breaks you. But the truth is, stress is like poison. How much you consume determines how fast it kills you. The elderly who live the longest are not the ones who never had problems. They're the ones who mastered the art of letting go. They refused to carry burdens that weren't theirs to bear. They understood that anger, resentment, worry, these things don't solve problems. They only steal time, and time is something you can never get back. But the biggest mistake, the one that guarantees a shorter life more than anything else, is the absence of purpose. You see it all the time. A man works hard his entire life, retires at 65, and within a few years, he's gone. Not because his body gave out, but because his soul had nothing left to hold on to. Purpose is not just a luxury. It is oxygen for the human spirit. The elderly who thrive, who remain vibrant and alive, are the ones who never retire from life itself. They wake up with something to do, something to give, something to look forward to. And yet, most people spend their entire youth chasing money, status, and possessions, never stopping to ask themselves, what will keep me alive when all of this is gone? The mistake most people make is thinking that longevity is about luck, genetics, or some magic formula. It's not. It's about the small, everyday decisions that either add years to your life or take them away. People don't just get old. They accumulate their choices. They either build themselves up or wear themselves down. So ask yourself right now, what patterns are you repeating that your future self will regret? What habits are you indulging in that are silently shortening your time? Because the truth is, your body isn't counting birthdays. It's counting the choices you make. Somewhere along the way, society convinced us that growing old means growing weak. That once you reach a certain age, it's natural to slow down, to struggle, to fade into the background. And most people accept this as truth. But have you ever noticed that not everyone ages the same way? Have you ever seen an 80-year-old who still walks with purpose, still thinks with clarity, still lives with energy, and then seen another, at 60, already looking like life has beaten them down? That alone should tell you something. What we believe about aging shapes how we age. And the biggest tragedy? Most people are living under a set of false beliefs that guarantee their decline long before their time. The first myth, it's just genetics. Some people are lucky, some aren't. That's the excuse people use when they don't want to take responsibility for their choices. Yes, genetics play a role, but genes don't determine your destiny. Your actions do. Science has already proven that lifestyle choices can turn genes on and off like a switch. You can have a family history of heart disease and still live a long life if you take care of your heart. You can have a genetic predisposition to memory loss, but if you challenge your brain daily, you can fight it off for decades. The truth? Genetics load the gun. Your habits pull the trigger. And yet most people accept this lie as truth. They say, my father died early, so I will too, as they light another cigarette, skip another workout, ignore another warning sign. And then, when the doctor gives them bad news, they act like it was inevitable. It wasn't. They just chose to believe in fate instead of responsibility. The second myth: once you hit a certain age, your body starts falling apart. Your body doesn't just break down for no reason. It breaks down when you stop taking care of it. The elderly who move with ease, who still have strength in their hands, who don't struggle to get up from a chair, those are the people who never stop challenging their bodies. They never stopped walking, stretching, lifting, and pushing themselves. The reason most people get weak as they age is not because of time. It's because of neglect. You stop using your muscles, they shrink. You stop working your heart, it loses endurance. You stop challenging your bones, they become fragile. It's not aging, it's disuse. And yet, people sit back and accept this myth. They say, "I'm getting too old for this," and stop moving. And what happens? Their body listens. It adapts to their belief. Tell yourself you're too old, and your body will make it true. The third myth: it's normal to lose your memory as you age. No, it's not. It's common, but common is not the same as normal. Memory fades when you stop using it. Your brain is a muscle. If you don't challenge it, if you don't keep learning, reading, thinking, and engaging, it weakens. The people who stay sharp in their 80s and 90s aren't special. They just never stopped working their minds. They never let themselves become passive. But most people believe the lie. They think, well, my memory's just getting worse because I'm older. And they stop trying. They stop reading new books, stop having deep conversations, stop pushing themselves to think. And the more they stop, the worse it gets. The fourth myth: stress is just part of life, and there's nothing you can do about it. Stress is not just a feeling. It's a slow poison. It changes your brain, weakens your immune system, damages your heart, and shortens your lifespan. And yet, most people treat stress like it's something they just have to live with. The truth? Stress is a choice. You choose what you hold on to. You choose what you let eat away at you. The longest living people in the world don't just eat well and exercise. They also master the art of letting go. Think about it. How many people do you know who carry their stress like a badge of honor? Who never let go of old grudges? Who hold on to anger and bitterness? Who replay past mistakes over and over again? That's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. The elderly who live long and well are not the ones who never had struggles. They're the ones who learned how to release what they couldn't control. They don't waste their time on resentment. They don't let stress dictate their lives. They don't carry burdens that aren't theirs to bear. And that brings us to the biggest, most dangerous myth of all. There's nothing you can do to change your fate. That's the lie that kills people before their time. The belief that you're just a passenger in life, that you don't have a say in how long or how well you live. But think about it. If you put poison into your body every day, your body will break down faster. If you never move, your muscles will waste away. If you let stress consume you, your heart will suffer. If you stop thinking, your mind will slow down. So if all of that is true, if your daily actions can weaken your body and mind, then the opposite must also be true. If you nourish your body, it will stay strong. If you move, your muscles will remain useful. If you learn to manage stress, your heart will keep beating. If you keep challenging your mind, your memory will stay sharp. Aging is not just about time, it's about maintenance. But most people never realize this. They follow the script society hands them. They hit a certain age and start taking it easy. They stop pushing themselves, stop challenging themselves, stop growing. And when their body and mind begin to decline, they say, well, this is just what happens. This is what happens when you accept the lie. The people who live long, who stay strong, who remain sharp, they never bought into these myths. They never surrendered to the idea that life has an expiration date written in stone. And neither should you. If there's one thing to take away from this conversation, it's this. Your future is not written in stone. Most people don't die simply because of old age. They fade away because of years of neglect. Neglect of their body, their mind, their purpose. They don't realize that every choice they make is either extending their time or quietly stealing it away. But here's the good news. It's never too late to change. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Move a little more. Eat with care. Keep your mind engaged. Let go of what weighs you down. And above all, wake up with something to live for. The people who live long, who stay strong, who remain sharp, they aren't lucky. They are intentional. They respect time instead of fighting against it. They build habits that add life to their years, not just years to their life. So ask yourself, what choices are you making today? Are they leading you towards strength, clarity, and purpose? Or are they quietly pulling you away from the life you could have? Because in the end, it's simple. Actions decide destiny. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What's one thing you're going to change starting today? And if you found value here, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. More importantly, go live well. Because time is a gift. Use it wisely.